Smashley. Welcome back to my channel, or welcome if it's your first time. And if it's your first time, why don't you go ahead and hit that subscribe button. Wow, I cannot tell you guys how good it feels to be back in front of the camera after some much needed time off. But just because I've been away does not mean that I have not been working on YouTube. I have my first full quarter of videos for the year completely planned out. But here we are, it's 2021, Happy New Year. Daniel and I just hit our 1-year wedding anniversary, so we thought we would kick off this year with another wedding video. And this one's a little different because I'm not actually making anything. I'm gonna go through, as the title has already given away, all of the things that I thrifted for my wedding. And if you guys have been watching me for a while, you know that I did a ton of DIY wedding stuff, as well as thrifting, and that really helped keep costs down. So I really thought that today's video would be pretty helpful for those of you who are also planning maybe some vintage style type of wedding. I actually started my channel doing DIY wedding content because we had so much that we had done. So you guys have already seen how we did our invitations, how I did my table numbers, and how I did my bridesmaids bouquets that I made from scratch. And we're gonna be getting back to some more of that. I've only showed you guys a little bit of what I created, but we have some more stuff coming out and we'll get back to that this year. Now, when Daniel and I were brainstorming ideas for what we wanted our wedding to look like, of course, we ended up on Pinterest. I have an entire board. You guys can follow me on Pinterest, Smashley with 3 Ys and an underscore. I digress. But on my Pinterest board, we started pinning all of these different photos. There was one specific photo. I'm gonna go ahead and insert it for you guys right here just so you can see what I'm talking about. But I fell in love with so many elements that we ended up incorporating in our own wedding. One of them being all of the candle holders. So as you guys can see, I have these like vintage looking candlesticks that I did 100% thrift. Here's kind of one of them up close. Now, before I actually decided to thrift, I was already in contact with a few vendors, and there was one in particular that my wedding coordinator got us in touch with who had vintage style pieces that you could rent for your wedding. Now, just to put things in perspective, there was a set of I believe, 12 candle holders. They were brass, they were assorted kind of like what this looks like here, and she wanted $200 to rent them. So that was a very fast no for me, dog. And I just decided to go and take my shot at Salvation Army and a bunch of other thrift stores to just see what I would find. And then it became a thing. You guys, every weekend we had free, any business trip where I had some time off on my hands, I was literally in and out of thrift stores, which I love and is one of my favorite pastimes. I grew up thrifting, so like I'm no stranger to how to find some deals. Anyway, all of that being said, I literally went nuts. I found so many different candlesticks, and I live in Florida. I was going to different Salvation Armies and thrift stores all throughout the state. So definitely, as you guys are going through and thrifting, be open to the different types of thrift stores in your area, but also be willing to drive, because that's how I was able to find exactly what I was looking for. So these were all of the brass ones that we ended up using. We had them placed right in front of our sweetheart table at our wedding. I'll go ahead and insert another photo so you guys can get an idea of how everything turned out and how everything looked. But I love them so much, and now I get to own them. As I was thrifting, some of these like little guys, these were about 50 cents when I picked them up. I think I took the tags off of them. The most expensive one I think was this really large one here, and this one was like $4, just to give you guys an idea. So I didn't break the bank at all picking up all of these, but I think they're beautiful. They just needed to be cleaned up and polished just a tad bit before we wanted to use them for the wedding. So in terms of maintenance, they were literally so easy, so perfect, absolutely loved them. I've since used them around the house for normal decor. I've used them for our centerpiece on our main table, and I'm hoping that I can actually use these at one of my best friend's wedding coming up in April. So we're definitely getting our money's worth, and I would say if you guys are looking to do a vintage wedding, very similar to kind of how we did ours, if you want this style, just go out and thrift it. You're gonna save so much money. You guys, don't laugh. But the next thing that I ended up thrifting for the wedding were a bunch of these Reader's Digest books. I've heard of Reader's Digest before, to be honest with you. I have no idea, I've never read any of them. But they just look like they have an assortment of stories in them. I didn't give a really what the books were about, but I loved the gold trimming on the side. So let me just break down for you guys kind of what I did. So of course, when you guys are going to the thrift store, there's always going to be a book section. Now I knew that on our cocktail tables, I wanted to have like a couple books stacked and a couple little vases with flowers. I'll go ahead and insert a picture here of what the inspo was or how we ended up staging it before the wedding, because that was a whole thing as well. Anyway, so I kept going to the book sections at the Salvation Armies. Now, these books didn't necessarily come like this. They had a like paper / plastic laminated cover over them. So what I was doing, or what I usually do when I'm looking for books to thrift to kind of just keep around the house as home decor, I usually take the covers off in the store to see what the actual book looks like underneath. And I knew I wanted to go with these like romantic jewel tones, and so I was just looking for anything that would speak to me. And I kept noticing that the more Salvation Armies and the more thrift stores that I would go to, they kept having this same style book. And I didn't really pay attention to it at first. And then as they started to pop up, I'm like, all right, now I gotta see what these are about. I opened them, and you guys, I was obsessed. Okay, green is my favorite color, so I'm gonna show you guys this beautiful emerald book. So they're leather bound. Again, I don't really care too much for what they say on the side, but the gold accent 100% went with our vibe and the like vintage theme of our wedding. So I picked up, I don't know, 15 of them. It was ridiculous. I found them at Goodwill, I found them at Salvation Army, I found them at like local non-chain thrift stores, and it became really fun. Not all of them were the colors that I wanted, I will throw that out there, but I was able to find quite a few to make them work. So I just had them assorted on the table in different stacks, and it looked really, really cute in the end. And now I actually keep them. I have two more that are not pictured here. One's brown and one's black, and they go with my home decor perfectly. So I actually have them somewhere else in the house. But if you guys are wanting to either do home decor and have like those, you know, little stacked books look, then you can definitely go ahead and thrift them. I will say, price-wise, these were all between $1, and I think the most expensive one was like $3, and that one was at Goodwill. They're much cheaper at Salvation Army. But I love them. They look really cute on the tables, and highly, highly recommend. All right, the next piece that I thrifted for the wedding is actually pretty big. So this table itself is about 4 feet wide, and the piece of artwork is pretty much taking up the entire thing. But I knew I wanted to do like a gilded frame something for the wedding. I wasn't sure exactly what, but again, that kind of goes with the vintage theme. And I walked into Salvation Army one day. It was White Tag Day. If you guys are OG thrifters, then you totally know what that means. When we were younger, I used to go with my grandma to the thrift stores, and we literally would only buy stuff that was whatever color tag that was 50% off that day. So it was White Tag Day. So I'm looking, and I'm searching all through the different aisles. I usually go to the vases first because I was looking for candlesticks and candle holders and things like that. And then I usually make my way to the artwork to see if there's something that I find that would fit for the wedding. And I got really lucky one day because I stumbled upon this piece. And again, you guys can see how huge it is. It was only $15. So I'm like, sold, absolutely sold. It's coming with me. I know exactly what I want to do with it. And I bring it up to the register, and I didn't realize it was a white tag. So I actually got this big piece for $7.50. And I don't want to give it too much away because I'm going to do its own video for it, but essentially we knocked out the piece of the artwork, and what I created with this was my seating chart for my wedding, and I made it look really, really cute. So if you guys want to see some video like that, or a DIY and how I put that together, let me know in the comments section below. I was able to do the entire thing for like 10 bucks, I think it was, because all I added was string and paper, aside from my $7.50 giant frame. I don't know really what I'm going to be able to do with this thing now, but I imagine in the next house or something like that, I can stage it somewhere. It just doesn't quite fit. So right now she lives in storage, but you guys be on the lookout for future video. Let me know in the comment section if you guys want to see that. Now, the next couple of things that I have in front of me were items that were completely unexpected. Again, I really wish I should have counted how many thrift stores that I actually ended up going to, but I think I was just having the time of my life. It wasn't something that I was thinking of, and YouTube didn't exist back then for me. As I was walking into one of the Salvation Armies, I was all disappointed because they didn't have any of the brass candlesticks that I was like looking for. And I was just about to leave the store, and all of a sudden something caught my eye at the bottom of one of the racks. And I found this stack of beautiful, beautiful vintage looking brass trays, and I was immediately in love. So I brought them up to the counter. They didn't have a price on them. The guy gave them to me for like $2 a piece. I bought all 6 of them. And the idea that I immediately had was to take this with the books that we showed previously, and that was going to be the little centerpieces for our cocktail tables. I absolutely loved how they came out, and now I have a set of 6 beautiful trays. Again, they'll live in storage, but if I'm throwing a party or something like that, they'll be super useful to pull from. So highly recommend if you guys find anything like this, but I loved it. The other thing that I was going to say is, as unexpected as these trays were, a lot of the Salvation Armies and thrift shops have brass elements that are kind of just like these weird, ornate, decorative pieces. So I'll insert some B-roll of some of the stuff that I found recently while I was thrifting. But these were a couple items that I picked up for the wedding as well. So this was another tray. And I just thought it was so beautiful, totally went with the vibe. We actually used this, I want to say, at our sign-in table, and it held our pens or something, so something stupid simple, but I got it for $1. $1, literally. So that was something that I absolutely had to pick up. And this weird thing absolutely serves no purpose, but again, I just thought it was such a cool like brass element, totally went with the vibe. So I was like, we can throw it on a table and it will kind of just bring everything together. So we went ahead and did that, and that was also $1. And I know that I'm just supposed to be showing you guys stuff that I thrifted for the wedding, but I also thrifted a bunch of stuff for my bridal shower, which was tea party themed. So I have one honorable mention. It's my little tea set. So again, the bridal shower was tea party themed. And what we did with the little teacup and plate sets, we picked up a bunch of them and we put cupcakes in them. And these were the gifts that, you know, all the guests that came to our bridal shower went home with. And I mean, we got this for maybe $2-3. So if you can keep your bridal shower pretty tight, these were such great gifts. Everybody absolutely loved them. The table looks so cool. I'll go ahead and insert a picture too, because of course, every single teacup set was gonna be completely different. And I just love that vibe for vintage, where you have like the assortment. As you guys can tell with all of my candlesticks, I also had a bunch of assorted little teacups and tea plate sets. So also something that you can find at the thrift store. Now, in a retrospect, because of course retrospect is 2020 or whatever the saying is, the one thing that I did not thrift, that I regret not thrifting, was the glassware. So on the same cocktail tables where I had the trays and I had the books, we also had a little assortment of little glass vases. And I ended up just buying those. They were super cheap at Joann Fabrics. I found like a box of $1 really pretty ornate vases. But I almost wish that I would have gone from less of a uniform look. And I'll insert a clip too. I'm telling you guys, when you go to any thrift store, the amount of crystal and glassware that they have is insane. That's one thing that I've seen in every single thrift store that I've gone through. So I wish I would have just paid a little bit more attention and maybe picked up a few crystal pieces as well. But you live and you learn, right? I think all in all we did really good with things that we ended up picking up and thrifting, and it didn't look like it was thrifted at the wedding. It looked like it belonged. It went with the vintage theme. We'll insert a bunch of pictures at the end so you guys can see how the decor kind of planned out. Shout out to our photographers, Manny and Martin, because the way that they captured everything, yes, all about it. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I know it was a little bit different. I'm hoping that it was helpful. Let me know in the comment section below if thrifting is also a pastime of yours and what you like to go to thrift stores for, because I'm always open. As always, like this video, subscribe if you have not already, because again, I have so many good videos coming up. Subscribe if you haven't already, and I will catch you guys in the next one, which will be probably a lot sooner than you think.